Journalists Association, they've called on the Ghana Police Service to cause the arrest of the new Patriotic Party third national chairman, Alhaji Massaoud, over his threats to harm journalists from Media General, talking about TV3, 3FM, Onia FM, Onia TV, Connect FM, Akwa FM, and 3news.com. Now, Alhaji Massaoud threatened to assault journalists from TV3 and its affiliates if they turned up at events or engagement organized by the new Patriotic Party. Addressing a news conference a short while ago, the GJA president, Albert condemned the threat, calling on law enforcement officers to act immediately and decisively on the matter.
Our attention has been drawn to an incident that occurred at a press conference organized by the MPP on Wednesday, April 16, 2025. And subsequent development does smack the face of media freedom and even constitute threat to life. The MPP press conference was attended by the General Secretary, Justin Frimpong Kodia, and the Minority Leader, Honorable Alexander Afenyo-Markin. While the General Secretary was inviting the Minority Leader to deliver a speech, the MPP third National Vice Chairman, Alhaji Osman Massaoud, was captured on camera pushing the TV3 microphone set on the eye table to the floor. 92.7. That action was greeted with murmurs of disapproval from the General Secretary, Minority Leader, and other party officials, who immediately called for the TV3 microphone to be reinstated on the eye table. That gesture by the General Secretary and the Minority Leader to restore order and allow TV3 to cover the event, although Alhaji Massaoud was not remorseful, is very commendable. We commend the MPP General Secretary and the Minority Leader for showing a high sense of tolerance and maturity in the face of chaos. Colleagues, a day after this incident, Alhaji Massaoud, in an interview with Kumasi-based Ash FM, said categorically that he deliberately pushed the TV3 microphone down. He even went further to issue threats against reporters of TV3 who may go near programs of MPP. This is what he said, and I quote him. This is a warning to Media General. This is a warning to TV3. They should stay away from the new Patriotic Party. The next time they joke with our program, to wait, we will beat them. We find the actions and comments of Alhaji Massaoud very reckless, reprehensive, and regrettable. His actions and comments are not only a threat to human life, they are also a threat to the lives of the rule of law and our democracy. We condemn them in no uncertain terms and call on the MPP third National Vice Chairman to withdraw his reckless comment and apologize for same. We also call on well-meaning Ghanaians, civil society organizations, diplomatic missions, and the international community to demand same from Alhaji Massaoud. If the MPP third National Vice Chairman fails to withdraw those reckless comments and threats, we shall hold him responsible for any attack on TV3 reporter or reporters at the party's program or anywhere close to the party's office. And we want the whole world to likewise hold him responsible. We are informed that the management of Media General have reported the threat to the police, and we hereby call on the police to act decisively on this case. The police must not sit unconcerned. The police must not wait for the worst to happen before they act. We call on the Inspector General of Police and his team to immediately invite or cause for the arrest of what? The MPP third national vice chairman.
That's Albert Jumfo is a president of the Ghana Journalists Association, and this is a comment that has generated a lot of reactions from you. Essentially, a number of you also are commending the GJA for coming out finally on this matter and then complimenting his call to the Ghana Police Service to act decisively on it. But we keep the steam on the new patriotic party, reason being, earlier today, the party's flag bearer addressed teaming supporters of the party at the party's national headquarters, essentially indicating that they lost the 2024 presidential elections because 2.1 million of the supporters of the MPP did not come out to vote. That's according to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia earlier today at the press conference. Take a listen to him.
We still suffered a heavy defeat, and when you look at what happened, you see that it was internal. Many of our supporters did not come out to vote. This is really fundamentally why we lost the election. If you look at 2020 vis-a-vis 2024, 2.1 million of our supporters didn't come out to vote. 2.1 million. And you look at John Mohammed's votes, his votes went up by maybe 115,000. So he increased by 115,000 and we went down by 2.1 million. And that is basically why we did not win. So the key to victory going forward is within the NPP. It is within ourselves because we decided not to vote. So if we decide to vote, we will win. So the key is ourselves. It is ourselves. So that is what we have to understand and take going forward. When we finished the election, there were so many people who were giving different reasons for why we lost. So many different reasons. But people were speaking without data. And you know, you can only speak forcefully with data. When you look at the reasons people were offering, one of the reasons people offered was that they said that they didn't vote for us because our presidential candidate was Muslim. Have you not heard that? Didn't you hear that? When I heard that, I said, this doesn't make sense. This is not the Ghana that I know. Because if you look at it, we went for primaries. We had 10 contestants. I was one Muslim, 9 Christians. But the MPP voted for the Muslim presidential candidate. So that could not be the case. So I decided to do some data analysis to test this hypothesis. And when you look at the data is very clear. In many constituencies across the country, the MPP presidential candidate performed better than the Christian parliamentary candidate. In many constituencies across. So it couldn't be if they were voting because of religion, I shouldn't be performing better than the Christian parliamentary candidates. Even my good friend, Intifodjo, who is giving a lot of heat to the government at the moment in Thailand. Intifodjo is a reverend father in Intifodjo, as in South. But I did better than him in his constituency. So he did so well. I mean, he did and mobilized the votes for me, and I thank him very much. But if you look at all across the country, the fact is that there was no religious factor in the voting. It is only propaganda. There is no religious factor. And in fact, you know, we sought to see so many.
Well, so that's Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the NPP's 2024 flag bearer, presidential candidate in that election. He outlines two things talks about data. He says he's done his own data analysis to test the hypothesis, whether indeed what exactly led to the MPP losing historically in the 2024 presidential elections. Two things. And then also he talks about the religious factor and the fact that he did much better than some of the Christian parliamentary candidates of the MPP in that election. He singles out Reverend Tim Fojo, and he gives obvious reasons why, and to the extent that it says he is even a reverend minister, but then again he performed better in that particular constituency even than him as a parliamentary candidate. In fact, this is another comment as well that points to a certain direction, and that's why I bring in two people on the data and the politics of things that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia talked about. Dr. Jonathan Asante-Otchere is a senior lecturer, University of Cape Coast political analyst, and then also Mussa Dankwah is Executive Director of Global Info Analytics. Gentlemen, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Good evening.
Great. I'll start off with you, Mr. Dankwah, because Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia talks about one of the reasons why they lost the election being data. He says he's done his own data analysis to test the hypothesis. It came out that if you look, in his words, if you look at 2020 vis-a-vis 2024, 2.1 million of the MPP supporters did not come out to vote. So the key to victory is within the MPP because they decided not to vote. So if they decide to vote, the MPP candidate will always win an election. Did that reflect in your post-electoral analysis in the 2024 elections?
92.7.
Right, Alfred, thank you very much for having me. Let's start with the voter apathy for December 2024. Polls we've conducted shows that those who said they did not vote in that election, indeed, 45% of them were MPP sympathizers. 9% were NDC sympathizers. 32% were floating voters. 3% other parties, and 22% did not tell us their party affiliation. So you can see that those who did not vote, less than half of them are MPP sympathizers. That's the first point. And the second point is that your supporters don't always come and vote for you. It doesn't happen like that. And indeed, if you look at the polls that was conducted after the elections, it shows that of the people who call themselves MPP sympathizers, 4% voted for other candidates, 79% voted for Bawumia, and 17% voted for John Mahama. That is the MPP bloc. For those who said they were NDC, 8% went for Bawumia and 92% for Mahama. For floating voters, Mahama got 68% of floating voters and Bawumia got 11% of them. 21% went for other candidates. Now, this is the trick. Now, if you look at those who voted on the election day for Akufo-Addo, we must try and draw a line between those who didn't vote at all. We should not call all of them MPP sympathizers. No, you can't call people who voted for Nana-Addo as MPP supporters. It doesn't work like that. People who queue to vote for presidential elections are not just your party people. I think that must be well understood. When Nana-Addo won 2020 elections, he won that election with the support of MPP sympathizers, NDC sympathizers, floating voters, and the rest. Now, let's look at how they voted. Those who in the 2020 went for Nana-Addo, we found that about 4% of people who voted for Nana-Addo in 2020 switched their vote to Mahama. 94% went for Bawumia, and 2% went for others. But for those who voted for Nana-Addo in 2020, it included people numbering about 76% who had come back to John Mahama. So NDC people who went for Nana-Addo in the last election, 76% left MPP candidate back to Mahama. 76%. It tells you that those who vote for your candidate do not necessarily mean they are party supporters. They are not.
I see, but then again, he's convinced essentially because of what he says is a hypothesis that he did with the data analysis that he himself, as a data person, he says you cannot make a forceful argument without data, and that's why I still want to dwell on you, because to that extent, is there any merit in the conviction that he has after his data hypothesis that indeed 2.1 million of the supporters of the NPP did not come out to vote? That's why he lost.
I think the true hypothesis would have been right if he had said that post-election analysis of those who didn't vote had showed that. But what he is doing is to use the actual results and compare the actual results to what happened in the year before to say that the gap between what they got last time and this time represent the MPP voters, and that was wrong, or that is wrong.
I see, but so then, which data set would he probably be using that would give, which you say is giving the wrong outcome, because he references 2020 vis-a-vis 2024, essentially.
Yes. So he's using the actual data, but if they have spoken to people who did not vote in 2024 and asked them their party affiliation, so they realized that not all those 2.1 million are MPP vote sympathizers.
Right. Not all the 2.1 million can be expressly stated as MPP supporters.
Yes, and in fact, if you look at those who voted in the 2024 elections, of those who came to vote and called themselves MPP, 17% of that number went for Mahama. So 17% of MPP sympathizers went for Mahama. So if those who were at home had come out to vote, what would have seen would have been the higher turnout, but the proportion wouldn't have changed because they were angry and they would have come to vote the same way as their peers.
I see. And Mr. Dankwah, kindly hold on a bit for me. And this is where I flip to the second point that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia makes in terms of the diagnosis of what really led to his defeat in the presidential elections in 2024, and the Electoral Commission, in declaring President John Dramani Mahama as winner of that race, secured some 6,328,397 of the votes, representing 56.55% of the valid ballot cast, as against Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's a little over 4,657,000. That's about 41.61% of the valid vote cast. But Dr. Jonathan Asante-Otchere, the other point that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia makes, which he says has been his diagnosis of what led to his defeat in the presidential election, was the religious factor and the fact that some people say because he is Muslim, that's why the MPP lost. He contests that particular position quite fiercely, and this is what he said. Just recall that a bit, and I'll have you also comment on that particular statement he made in that regard.
Reasons people were offering. One of the reasons people offered was that they said that they didn't vote for us because our presidential candidate was Muslim. Have you not heard that? Didn't you hear that? When I heard that, I said, this doesn't make sense. This is not the Ghana that I know. Because if you look at it, we went for primaries. We had 10 contestants. I was one Muslim, 9 Christians. But the MPP voted for the Muslim presidential candidate. So that could not be the case. So I decided to do some data analysis to test this hypothesis. And when you look at the data is very clear. In many constituencies across the country, the MPP presidential candidate performed better than the Christian parliamentary candidate. In many constituencies across. So it couldn't be, if they were voting because of religion, I shouldn't be performing better than the Christian parliamentary candidate. Even my good friend, Asante-Otchere, who is giving a lot of heat to the government at the moment in Tamale. Asante-Otchere is a reverend father in Asante South. But I did better than him in his constituency. So he did so well.
So that's Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Dr. Jonathan Asante-Otchere, to you. How does this statement, strike you from the political scientist or analyst perspective, the diagnosis of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and this Muslim-Christian analysis?
Well, let me say good evening to you and good evening to Mr. Mussa Dankwah and to your good listeners. You see, in as much as we are supposed to be a secular nation, we are equally religious people. It is true that religion may not be the main factor, but it is an insignificant factor as well. The point is that when you draw up the boxes, you should be able to take more than 90-something%, because there is not a single candidate that comes to the fore with perfections. There may be some imperfections or some weaknesses within a particular candidate, but when you tick all the boxes, you must be able to be in the 90s. That is the best way to go. The point is that, in as much as what he's saying may be right, there are some people, either minority, who will have such considerations. And you cannot in any way take away the tribal sentiment from an African country that is driven by this. There are people who have such perceptions, and you just cannot do anything to them. That is how they also perceive things. So sometimes when a political party is picking a candidate, as I said, they look at all these boxes and take them. In actual fact, where he comes from, they have a minority tribe. Where Mr. Muhammad comes from, they have a majority tribe. When you do the comparative analysis, even if it is just going to be tribal elections, he will beat you. Now, the other thing that probably Dr. Bawumia has lost sight of, and is probably trying to protect his interest for now. For me, this reference to religion, I've not seen any data yet that suggests that contributed to his loss. It is probably an internal call by some of the Sawas within the party who are probably doing some of these internal discussions, and that might have, occasioned this particular comment. That being said, if these factors are not significant, what Dr. Bawumia should bear in mind, which is more significant, is that he was or he is a weak candidate. There is no other important factor than to suggest that he came into the 2024 elections as a weak candidate. How did that happen? The main leverage that you can use to rally the grassroots and everybody else to come to your aid is the economy. And there were other factors as well. The economy was symbolic. When you say this, the likes of Mr. Yaba will come at you that you are apologetic of this. If today Mr. Justin Korea is apologizing, what is he apologizing for? What is he apologizing for? Is it today that they are hearing the call of Ghanaians who complain bitterly about the way and manner things were going? That being said, what about the role of the former president? When Global Paralytics made us know by November 2024 that the approval rating of the president was in the 20s, you do not let such a person lead anyway in your campaign strategy. You should have taken a backseat, because every now and then it was derailing the gains of the Bawumia along the line. So he may, wish away insignificant, factors like religion or tribal religions. He may wish those things away. But he came into the elections as a weak candidate. And it did not start at the national level. It started from the primaries. A candidate who is not able to make 80, 85, when your compeer, your contestant, or your competitor is making 90-something%, how do you think you'll be able to win the national elections? It means that internally, you are not the overwhelming candidate that everybody wants. Now don't make 80s in terms of contest. So you could see that
right
within the party itself, you have a firm ground, or the firm ground over the party. He himself, people look at his history. As I said that he came into the election as a weak candidate. People look at his history, and they think that it was just something, a token that was given him because of the backers of certain individuals within the party. That is real. Okay. And today, the likes of Alan have exited the party, and there are others who are equally disgruntled. Apart from the fact that on the ground, the grassroots were disgruntled, they were very apathetic against the leadership. Okay. I listened to most of these MPP guys, and they seem to tell me those days, that look, they love their party, but not the current leadership. Okay. Because they have misled the party. Right. So these and many other factors contributed to their loss, and not just that insignificant, reference to religion and tribe. No.
Well, thank you. Dr. Jonathan Asante-Otchere, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Dr. Jonathan Asante-Otchere is a political analyst, senior lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, joining us on this Montage Live here on Hot Edition on 3FM.